In the dark corner of the galaxy, there was a powerful alien empire known as the Alari. For thousands of years, they ruled by one law: strength decides everything. The Alari did not care about love, feelings, or kindness. They believed only the strongest deserved respect. And if you lost in battle, you were nothing. Among them, there was one warrior feared more than all others. Her name was Zira. Zira was not like other Alari. She was faster, smarter, deadlier. She had never lost a battle, not even once. Enemies called her the Stormblade because she moved like lightning and killed. Like a storm god, she wore black and silver armor, and her eyes glowed like fire when she fought. From the age of 12, Zira trained every day. She learned to use every weapon, every strategy. Her mission was simple: become the strongest. Prove you are worthy, Dot. And now, at the age of 26, she had done it. She stood in the grand arena of her homeworld, holding her sword above her last defeated rival. The crowd cheered. The ground shook with their voices. Zira had become the champion of the Alari. According to Alari tradition, the champion must now make a vow. She must promise herself, body, mind, and soul to the strongest enemy she cannot defeat. It was their way of showing honor. If someone was stronger than you, they deserved everything, even your loyalty. But there was a problem. Zira had no one left to fight. Her commander stepped forward. You have won every battle. No warrior is left to challenge you, champion. Zira stood tall. Her face was calm, but her heart was not. Something inside her felt empty. All her life, she wanted to win. Now she had won. And still, it felt like something was missing. She turned to the High Council. There must be someone. The old warrior king spoke. Only one remains. He is not Ilari. He is from a weak planet. No honor, no tradition, just tricks and machines. Zira's eyes narrowed. Why are we losing to him? The crowd went silent. Who is he? She asked Dot. The commander answered slowly, with discomfort in his voice. A human. His name is Commander Jack Reeve. He leads a rebel group near the Outer Rim. Small. Army. Low tech. But he has won 4 battles against our forces. Zira raised an eyebrow. Without power? With strategy? The commander said. He is unpredictable. Zira smiled for the first time in weeks. Interesting. She stepped forward and raised her sword to the stars. I, Zira of the Stormblade, champion of the Ilari, vow this: I will fight this human. And if he defeats me not by strength, but by mine, then I shall fulfill my vow. I will offer myself to him. Gasps spread through the arena. A human? Someone shouted. They are weak. Zira's voice was clear and cold. Then why do we fear him? In a secret war room far from the Alari world, Commander Jack Reeve looked over his maps. He was tired, but sharp. Around him, human soldiers worked silently. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they had Jack. Jack never smiled much. He had seen too many battles. But he still believed one thing: brains beat brawn. Every time, a young soldier ran in with a message. Sir, he said, we intercepted something strange from the Ilari main ship. It's a vow. Jack raised an eyebrow. A vow? The soldier nodded. From their champion, Zira. She's coming for you. Jack leaned back in his chair, thinking. He had heard the name Zira before. Rumors said she was unstoppable. He smiled. Just a little. Let her come. On her ship, Zira stood at the window, looking at the stars. She didn't know what this human would be like. Weak, cowardly, or maybe something else. She touched the hilt of her sword and closed her eyes. This will not be a fight for blood, she whispered. This will be a fight for meaning. Because deep down, Zira was tired of being empty. She wanted to feel something, and maybe, just maybe, this strange, clever human would be the strongest enemy she had ever known. Asterisk. The cold silence of space wrapped around the Alari warship like a sleeping beast. Inside, Zira stood in the shadows of her private chamber, staring at a glowing image floating midair. It was a human, tall, broad-shouldered, with sharp gray eyes. His name blinked on the screen. Jack Reeve, human commander. Target. But something about his face stopped her. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't angry. He looked got calm, got too calm for someone facing the might of the Alari Empire. Eyes. He does not look like a warrior. Her second-in-command, Kor, hesitated. He isn't. He uses strategy, traps, disguises. He wins without fighting. Zahra's voice was cold. Cowardice. Kor shook his head. No, precision. Zahra turned away from the screen and opened a secret drawer in the wall. Inside lay a black blade, smooth, silent, and deadly. Her blood blade, only used when, battle meant something personal. I will meet him alone, she said. Kor stepped back, alarmed. Alone? Without guards? Zahra stared at the stars. If he is weak, I don't need help. If he is strong, I want to see it with my own eyes. Meanwhile, light years away, on a quiet human outpost, Commander Jack Reeve was planting small metal devices into the dirt. The sun was low. The ground was dry. Tripwires, sensors, heat mines, he muttered, just in case the Queen decides to visit. Behind him, a soldier laughed nervously. You think she'll come alone? Jack stood up, wiping his hands. She's not like the others. If she made a vow, she'd keep it. Honor and ego, that's the Alari way. He looked up at the sky, and that makes her predictable. That night, a quiet shadow fell over. The human base dot no alarms. No noise, only the wind. And then a flicker of movement. One guard dropped silently. Then another. Zahra moved like smoke through the dark, invisible to the machines. She had disabled their sensors an hour ago. She had memorized the guard paths. She knew where he would be. She found Jack standing alone in the war room, facing the screen, as if he knew she was coming. He didn't turn around. I thought you'd arrive at dawn, he said. Zahra stepped into the light. Her armor gleamed like the night sky. Her hand rested on her sword. I don't wait for light. She replied. Jack turned slowly. Their eyes met for the first time. For a moment, no one spoke. Two leaders. Two enemies. Two minds built for war. I expected more guards, she said. Jack smiled. I expected more noise. Zahra tilted her head. You are not afraid. I don't waste energy on fear, he replied. Just like you don't waste time on kindness. Zahra took one step closer. Why do you keep winning, human? Jack leaned against the table. Because I don't fight the way you expect. She studied him. He was smaller than she thought. No glowing armor. No weapons. Just a soft voice and a hard stare. You are disappointing, she said. Good, Jack replied. Disappointment is useful. It makes enemies careless. Zahra almost smiled. Almost. She reached for her sword. Then let's test your mind. One move, one strike. Jack didn't move. You're standing on a pressure plate? If you step back, it explodes. Zahra froze. She looked down. Nothing was visible. No sound. No light. You're lying, she said. Jack shrugged. Maybe. Zahra's eyes narrowed. You want me to hesitate? And you just did? For the first time? In years, Zahra felt it, a spark of doubt. She stepped forward instead of back, closing the distance between them. Her blade touched his chest, just slightly. Jack didn't blink. I could kill you now, she said. I know, he replied. Why don't you move? Because you won't. Zahra stared at him for a long, tense second. And then she lowered her sword. Not in defeat, but in curiosity. I came to fight the strongest, she whispered. Jack smiled softly. Then stop looking at my sword and start looking at my mind. Outside the war room, alarms suddenly blared. The Alari rescue squad had arrived too early. Zahra turned to leave, but stopped at the door. You had the chance to kill me, Jack said. Why didn't you? Zahra paused, her voice low. Because you didn't fear me, and that ... is rare. She vanished into the shadows before the soldiers burst, and Jack stood alone. He touched the table where she had stood. And for the first time in years, he whispered something no one expected from him. Interesting. Space was quiet again, but inside her warship, Zara was not. She sat alone in the training hall, hitting the wall over and over with her blade. Not to train, but to think. Why didn't I kill him? Why did I hesitate? The blade cracked the wall. She had fought monsters. She had crushed champions. She had stared death in the face many times. But that man, he didn't fear her. And somehow, that was more dangerous than any weapon. For the first time, Zara didn't feel like a warrior. She felt like a question with no answer. Across the stars, in a hidden command post, Commander Jack Reeve leaned back in his chair, eyes closed. The room around him was quiet. Everyone had left. But his mind was busy. She had a chance to kill me. She yet didn't end single quotes T. Why? Jack wasn't sure if it was strategy or something deeper. Zara was not just muscle and armor. She had control. She had purpose. And now, Jack knew something even more valuable. She could choose not to kill. And that made her complicated. Days passed, but neither of them forgot. Then everything changed. Zara's ship entered human territory again. This time, she didn't come alone. She brought her elite warriors, silent, deadly, shadows in space. The mission was simple: capture the human, alive. But Jack was ready. He knew she would return not for war, but for clarity. And clarity could be used as a trap. The night was calm, too calm. Zara moved through the abandoned base, her eyes sharp, her breath steady, her team spread out like silent ghosts. No alarms. No resistance. She entered the command room. Empty. Only a single light flickered over the center table. On the table, one message was written in big letters on a screen. Looking for answers? Zara froze. Behind her, a wall slid open. Gas. Light. Sound. It was a trap. In seconds. Her team was neutralized. Sleep gas. Non-lethal. EEY reached for her sword. But something hit her arm, a shock pulse. She fell to one knee. Then a voice echoed through the room. I told you, Jack said, stepping into the light. Stop expecting the usual. Zara looked up at him, dazed but steady. You knew I'd come. I was counting on it. Zara tried to stand, but her legs were weak. The gas was still in her lungs. She looked at Jack. Kill me then, she said. Jack frowned. You think I brought you here to die? Zara blinked. He continued, calm and sharp. No, I brought you here to talk, to learn. Because you interest me, Zara, and that's dangerous for both of us. She stared at him. You captured me. Just to talk. Jack stepped closer. You offered yourself to your strongest enemy. I'm just accepting your offer. Zara laughed once, a low, tired sound. You're playing a game. Jack's eyes narrowed. No, I'm trying to stop one. Later, in a clean and guarded room, Zara sat alone, uncuffed. Untouched. Jack had given her water, food, even her sword back. It wasn't a prison. It was a puzzle. And she was the piece that didn't fit. Days passed. He came to her daily. They didn't fight. They talked. At first, she answered nothing. But then, one question made her pause. Jack asked, what would you do if your empire turned on you? Zara looked at him slowly. They wouldn't. Not yet, he said. But what if they saw you change? Zara didn't reply, because she knew deep inside change was already happening. One night, alarms rang again. An Alari strike team had come to rescue their champion. Jack rushed to the room. They're here for you. You can go. Zara stood. Slowly. I won't stop you, Jack said. But if you leave now, you'll go back to a world that only wants you to obey, not to think. Zara stared at him for a long time. She walked to the door, and then turned. I could have killed you when we first met, she whispered. But now, I don't want to. Jack said nothing. Zara smiled, just a little. I don't know if that makes me weak. We're finally free. She stepped into the hallway. The Alari squad waited, weapons raised. But before she left, she looked back one last time. And in her eyes was a question that not even war could answer. Asterisk. Zara stood in the grand hall of the Alari High Command. The lights were too bright. The walls too clean. The silence. Too heavy. She had returned home a war hero, but something inside her felt like a traitor. Around her, the commander spoke like machines. Mission complete. Human base compromised. Commander Reeve remains alive. Strategic. Next attack Earth itself. Zara said nothing. She only watched the way their mouths moved, but never their hearts. They praised her, bowed to her, but none of them asked what she had seen. None of them asked why she hadn't killed the human. Later, in her private quarters, Zara sat on the floor, armor beside her, blade across her knees. She stared at her reflection in the blade's metal. But she didn't recognize the woman staring back. Something had shifted, and she hated how quiet it was now before Jack Reeve. War was simple. Now it felt like a question that wouldn't stop asking itself. Far away, Jack sat alone in his camp, watching. A small screen play an old Earth film. It was a love story. He wasn't watching it for the romance. He liked the human mistakes in it. The flawed courage. People being brave without armor. Without a plan, just trying. He thought of Zara. Again, how her eyes changed in the last moment before she left. Not cold. Not. Cruel, just confused. 3 days passed. Zara returned to her combat squad. Training resumed. But something was different. She no longer struck to kill. She pulled her punches. When her second in command, Kor, challenged her in the ring, she knocked him down easily. But she didn't press the blade to his throat as Alari custom demanded. Why did you stop? He asked. Panting, Zara looked away. Victory doesn't always need blood. Kor stood, confused. Since when? Zara whispered. Since I saw someone win without it. That night, in her warship's archive room, Zara did something unthinkable. She ordered a private file access. Human history. Wars. Leaders. Mistakes. Art. Music. Poems. Weakness. Hope. She watched a human soldier carry his wounded enemy to safety. She read about revolutions, fought not with blades, but with ideas. She watched a clip of a child hugging a robot during war. She closed her eyes. Why? Didn't we ever make room for things like that? She knew if anyone saw her watching this, she'd be branded impure, weak, even dangerous, but she didn't stop because something was calling her. On Earth, Jack received an encrypted message. No name, no sender. Just one line. I want to meet again. No blades, no traps. Jack stared at the words for a long time. He typed back 2 words, neutral ground. Days later, under a broken moon on an abandoned mining station, they met again. No soldiers. No guns. Just Jack. And Zara. They stood in silence for a long time. Jack broke it first. You came? Zara nodded. I had questions. Jack chuckled. Softly. You sure you don't want to fight me first? She gave him a look. I already did. In my mind, you won. Jack's smile faded. So what now? Zara stepped forward. I was trained to destroy anything different, anything emotional, anything human. She looked up at him. But you made me wonder what strength really is. Jack didn't move. He let her speak. I used to believe victory meant control, power, fear. But now, I think maybe victory is knowing when not to kill. Jack finally spoke. Then you've already changed more than your empire ever will. Zara's voice cracked slightly, the first time emotion touched it. Then what am I now? Jack's answer was simple. Dangerous. Back on her ship, Zara returned with no lies in her report. No contact. No enemy present. But in her heart, she knew the truth, and she also knew the cost. Because if her people discovered the meeting, if they found out she admired the human, they would not forgive her. She was caught between 2 worlds. Now, her loyalty to a code she no longer believed in a connection. She never expected to feel Dot in a training hall the next morning. Kor asked her quietly, Commander, are you with us? Zara met his eyes and said nothing, because she didn't know the answer anymore. It was a quiet valley on a forgotten moon. Sky gray, ground silent, no soldiers, no warships. Just 2 people. Zara stood still, her armor lighter now. No royal colors. No crest of her empire. Just steel. Jack waited across from her. No gun. Just a staff in his hand, sturdy, simple. Human. Wind passed between them like a breath neither could take. This is not war, Zira said. Jack nodded. No, this is truth. The idea had been hers. Not a mission. Not a peace talk. Not another secret message. But a request. Fight me, Jack Reeve. Not to win, but to understand. Back on her ship, they had called her mad. Kor warned her. This will break everything we stand for. Zara had only replied, then maybe we are standing on the wrong things. The rules of the duel were clear. No killing. No soldiers. No lies. Just two warriors, each carrying a world in their chest. They circled each other slowly. Zara moved first fast, precise. Jack blocked, barely. I was trained by legends, she said. Jack stepped back. Oh, I was trained by failure. She struck again, a high slash. Jack ducked, rolled, countered with a strike to her side. She twisted away. You fight like a thinker, she said. You talk like a fighter who's tired of fighting. Her jaw clenched. He was right. Minutes passed. The fight grew faster, but every blow was measured, every move careful. This was not about pain. It was about permission. Zara shouted mid-strike. Why aren't you trying to win? Jack blocked. Because I already did. How? You're not fighting me. You're fighting them. His words hit harder than his staff ever could. Zara faltered. For the first time. Her weapon dropped. She looked at her hands, not shaking from weakness, but from freedom. She whispered. I don't want to be theirs anymore. Jack lowered his weapon. Ben, stop pretending you still are. Silence again. No war cries. No orders. Just wind. Zara knelt down slowly, not in defeat, but in decision. By Alari law. The one who kneels after a duel of honor is offering a vow of loyalty, vow of trust, a vow of choice. She looked up at him. I promised myself to the strongest enemy, she said. But you are not stronger in body, not faster, not more skilled. Jack waited. Zara stood again. But you are the first enemy who taught me not to destroy. She stepped forward, and that makes you the strongest. Jack looked at her carefully. I don't want a servant, he said. I don't want a trophy. I don't want someone to kneel when they don't believe. Zara's voice was steady now. Then take me as an equal. Jack nodded slowly. And together, she said, let's find a way to end this war. Before it kills everything in us that's still alive. Far away, the stars continued to burn. But in that forgotten valley, something else had started. To shine hope. But hope is dangerous. Because someone was watching. Silent figure hidden in the trees. Not human. Not Ilari, but something darker. And it had just marked both Zara and Jack as traitors. Asterisk. The message came at dawn. One sentence. You're now marked for termination. Zara stared at it without blinking. The Ilari Council had spoken. No trial. No question. No mercy. Jack stood beside her, reading the message on the cracked screen. They moved fast, he said. They always do when they feel fear, she replied. Jack looked at her. And now they fear you. Zara nodded. Good. Half a galaxy away. Earth's command center buzzed with alerts. Commander Jack Reeves' access codes had been revoked. High treason. Suspected collaboration with alien force. One general slammed his fist on the table. He's compromised. Remove him, a younger officer whispered. But what if he's right? What if the war can end? Silence. And then we don't end wars. We win them? Now both sides hunted them. Zara was no longer a champion. Jack was no longer a commander. They were fugitives. Together. They didn't run. They vanished. A hidden moon. No name. No tech. No weapons. They called it Neutral Zero. An old mining colony. Now empty. Rusting. Forgotten. There. They built a plan. They didn't want to destroy empires. They wanted to interrupt them. To show both species that survival didn't need to come from domination. But before hope could grow roots, something else arrived. Something worse than war. The sky over. Neutral zero burned red for 5 seconds. Then silence. Then static. Then ... A signal. Zero was the first to notice. That's not Alari. Jack leaned over the console. Not human either. They both stared at the signal, repeating again and again in a cold, pulsing tone. You left your people. Now you are ours. In deep space, aboard a broken warship floating like a corpse, a figure moved. Not Ilari, not human. A hybrid, created in a forgotten lab. Part of a Black Ops project both sides had buried. Project Merge, a failed attempt to combine human instinct, and Ilari left to die. Now, reborn in rage. The warlord Malrix. Neither side wanted him. Now he wanted everything. Malrix watched the footage of Jack and Zara's duel on repeat. He whispered, they want peace. I want extinction. He tapped the command. Begin harvest. Target, neutral zero. Back on the moon, Jack and Zara began to feel the change in the air. Birds stopped flying. The wind tasted of metal. Then the stars began to flicker. Jack loaded the old rifle. This isn't your people, is it? Zara's voice was like steel. No, this is something that should not exist. They ran to the edge of the valley. And saw ships black and silent falling from the sky like knives, each one shaped like a mix of human metal and Alari bone. Jack whispered, he's combining us. Zara's eyes darkened. He's trying to become more than both. By nightfall, they had called a meeting, not a war council, not a government, just a few brave outcasts, deserters, defectors, thinkers from both sides, human engineers, Ilari pilots, refugees, cowards, survivors. And for the first time, Zara stood not as a commander, but as a voice. We are not enemies, she said. We are the proof that peace can exist. Jack stood beside her. But if we do nothing, we'll be erased by something built from our worst parts. A silence followed. Then someone stepped forward. I'll fly. Another. I'll wire the defense systems. Another. I'll fight. Just tell me where. That night, under broken stars, a new force was born. Not an army. A resistance. Small. Unfinished. But real. The war was no longer Ilari versus human. It was something bigger. Something older. A choice between extinction and evolution. And Jack and Zeri stood at the center. Not leaders. Not lovers. Just two people with everything to lose and finally something to fight for. They came from the dark. No warning. No words. The sky above neutral zero cracked open as the black ships of Malrix descended. Not like soldiers, but like a plague. Jack stood on the hilltop with a pair of old binoculars. The ships were quiet, but their shape told him enough. Twisted, fused, get things given purpose. Beside him, Zara adjusted the armor she had once worn proudly for the Ilari. Now it bore no flag, no empire. Only a mark she carved herself. 2 crossed lines. One for him, one for her. Across the camp, the small rebel force prepared. Humans and Ilari together. Tired faces. Scarred hands. Hopeful eyes. They had no fleet. No. SUP, and it's just unity. And maybe that would be enough. As the enemy ships landed, the ground groaned like it didn't want to carry what was coming. And then, through the smoke, he arrived. Malrix. Tall, twisted. His skin was metal. His voice, both human and Ilari, but wrong. My creators abandoned me, he said to the field. His voice echoed in minds, not ears. Now I will return the favor. By burning both your worlds into ash. Zara stepped forward. She didn't flinch. You are not the future, she said. You are the mistake we chose to forget. Malrix grinned. You vowed yourself to strength, and now you serve a man who bleeds. That is your weakness. Zara raised her blade. No, that is my choice, and choice is stronger than blood. The battle exploded. Screams, fire, light, dirt flew. metal sang. Flesh fell. Jack led from the front, even with a cracked rib and blood on his face. He moved like a man with nothing left to protect, except one thing. Zara fought like a force of nature. Her blade danced. Her voice commanded, but for every two they took down, more rose. The hybrid army couldn't feel fear. Or pain, but Zara and Jack could, and they used it as fuel. Then. The turning point came. The power core at the heart of Malrix's flagship, hidden beneath the battlefield, was found. It was unstable, drawing power from stolen Alari and human tech. If it could be overloaded, the hybrids would collapse, but someone had to do it manually. From inside, Zara and Jack looked at each other. No words, just one long stare. And then Jack moved, but Zara stopped him. No, I can do it, Jack. Sad. I know, she whispered. That's why you can't. Zara turned and ran. Jack shouted her name, but she didn't stop. Inside the burning ship, she moved fast. Fire kissed her skin. Sparks fell like stars. She reached the core. It pulsed like a heart. Bat had forgotten how to beat. She set the override. The countdown began. She opened her comb. Jack? Are you there? Static. Ben. I'm here. Zara closed her eyes. Asked me once what I believed in. Yeah, Jack said. His voice broke. She smiled. I believe in what you showed me. A pause. I believe my vow meant giving myself to the strongest. Her voice softened. But the truth is, Jack, I gave it to the one who made me stronger. The signal ended. From the hill, Jack saw the explosion rise like a second sun. Bright. Silent. Final. The hybrid army froze, then crumbled, lifeless. The war. It was over 3 days later, on the field where it all ended. Jack stood alone. He carried no weapon. Just a small, hand-carved pendant. 2 crossed lines, one for her. One for him. The humans and Alari began talks of peace. Not fast. Not easy. But possible. They would never forget who made it. So, Zara's name became more than legend, more than a warrior. She became the vow that changed everything, not because she gave herself to an enemy, but because she gave herself to hope.